VGK had the early jump, but the Wild took over last night in the game in the series as they tie up that series one game apiece. Two of the worst performances in franchise playoff history for the Golden Knights, Brayden McNabb and Shea Theodore. Not going to sugarcoat it. Minnesota takes game two, 5-2. Our recap next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, longtime sportscaster, marketing consultant, and the host of Believe in Vegas podcast. This week, we spotlight the NFL draft with Cody Benjamin, Believe in Vegas from CBS Sports, the NFL writer. And he is Chris Golick, VGK season ticket holder, owner of Silver State Cards and Sports, collectibles editor of the Hockey News, and of course, much, much more. Welcome to the only daily VGK podcast. On today's show, our other segments, Shea Theodore and Brayden McNabb, but we can't rip them enough from last night's game, sorry. And then also, has anyone seen the top line? So, Chris, contrary to what the hyped up fans believed, this will not be a sweep by the Golden Knights in the first round of the playoffs. Bruce Cassidy was perplexed afterwards. He had said earlier that the Golden Knights and the Wild would probably play a predictable game, right? In game two of the series, when asked after last night's game, 5-2, the defeat by Minnesota, he said, I don't know what they did. They just played different.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I see the statement, but so one of the narratives in listening to the post game on the way home and
you went to the structure. Game. You were out there?
Oh yeah, we were there. We were at the game. We were at the game.
You didn't stay till the end. You're no Shea Theodore.
We left at the empty netter. We left after the empty netter, but Shea Theodore's wife was long gone by that point already, so it's fine. So the narratives on the radio and in the post game were about adjustments that the Wild made, and Cassidy was asked, and he's like, there wasn't the Cassidy didn't really. Yes, he said they played a little bit different.
Yeah,
but Cassidy, long story short, there was no adjustments that were made. The Golden Knights just gifted the game. And easy offense, that was the word that I loved, the terminology that I loved that Cassidy used in the post-game presser. You gave some of the best players in the world, at least one of them in Kirill Kaprizov, many opportunities to create scoring chances. And easy offense, that's the narrative, not the adjustments by the Wild. The Wild did nothing differently in this game. The Wild did absolutely nothing differently in this game, maybe besides finished better than the Golden Knights when they had their opportunities.
I thought they pressured, once again, they pressured the forwards there, and they created some turnovers. Other ones were just sloppy on the part of VGK. And VGK sometimes, Chris, gets full of themselves. We've talked about that before. They come tumbling back down to earth like Blue Origin. Had to throw that in there. VGK's first 5 minutes.
It's game two.
Okay. VGK's first 5 minutes, 5-0 shots on goal. Minnesota outshot VGK 8-1 and scored 2 goals in a minute 39. And again, Brayden McNabb and Shea Theodore, they could not protect the puck, and they had the worst 2 performances of any player so far in the Cup playoffs. Think about that for a moment. Of any player, it was McNabb worst, second worst, Theodore. And we'll talk more about them, but I mean, that was the key to last night's game, just protecting the puck. Again, mismanagement, just not being able to get the puck out of the zone. They did some good things, VGK. Like in the second period, it was a 15-minute drought to end the period for the Wild. They did not score a goal, and if there was going to be a run for VGK, it should have been there in period number 2, because they just held the puck so long in the offensive zone, and they should have been able to do something and to score more than 1 goal in period number 2.
The concerning point is that, like, I liked when McNabb and Theodore got the start last night. I feel that's the best pairing right now. You got a lot of questions with what was
-8. That's the best pairing.
well, before the game, it was the best
I
pairing.
know. I had to do that.
Pietrangelo
Yeah.
and Hannafin have a lot of questions. And now which one of them is going to be playing with Haig and White Cloud, or Haig and White Cloud going to stay together? Cassidy was moving them all night long, trying to find a little something there. You talked about the shots on goal and everything. The Golden Knights, I mean, first of all, the Wild went into the prevent defense. Let's be clear about that. They went into the prevent defense and said, okay, we got a 4-0 lead. The Golden Knights got 20, 30, like 36 minutes or whatever it is to climb that hill. They might get a couple, but they're going to make sure that the chances are somewhat few and far between. Transition game, if you did, we talked a little about maybe if there was some type of adjustments. The Golden Knights had nothing in the transition game. The Hannafin goal was a bit of a kind of like a broken play. So that was a transition goal, yes, but it wasn't necessarily nicely executed. But they got the goal. That's the part that matters, and you never know what happens after that point. After that, though, the transition was just dull. It wasn't there. What I did like, and I put this out there on Twitter, is the Golden Knights were getting puck movements and getting a cycle and getting sustained ozone time throughout the game. And they either got to the point where, okay, we're going to make that one more pass and then it's going to be turned over, or they're going to attempt a poor shot with no traffic in front of the net. So while the Golden Knights, it was kind of nice watching them trying to, create some offense, they didn't have the one more thing needed, if you will, to make it a quality scoring chance. Speaking of quality scoring chances, Natural Stat Trick had it 10-7 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights. So that means in 7 high dangers, the Minnesota Wild converted 4 goals with the goalie in the net. And speaking of the goalie here, Adin Hill,
Not good.
Talking about Adin Hill, you got to have some saves. You got to have some
Five
saves.
hole again. He gets beat on the 5 hole. The one thing, you talk about adjustments. Did you see Gustafsson overplaying the shot on the going top shelf? Did you see him? He overplayed that play. Every time they came down, he kind of started to play. He stood up a little bit more. I think that they made an adjustment. And I told you that the Gus bus is terrific in bounce back games. I wired that game last night. I absolutely wired that game.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, a lot of times you will see players after they have a poor game have a good bounce back, and the Golden Knights are pretty good in these bounce back scenarios too. Don't kid yourself. I don't have the direct number in front of me, but I remember talking last year about this time in the playoffs after things were starting to go a little haywire against the Dallas Stars, that the Golden Knights do have a good bounce back scenario. And speaking of a bounce back, series is going to shift to Minnesota. Obviously, we know this. The Golden Knights have a simple goal: win one of the next 2 games. You win one of the next 2 games, then home ice advantage is earned again. The Golden Knights have home ice, and they got to win their last 2 home games, and life will be good. Going 7 games isn't going to make anyone feel good, but that's the reality of what might end up happening when the dust settles.
It's going to get, to use a Vegas term, dicey if VGK loses Game 3, for sure.
I don't think so. I don't think there'll be a lot of panic. I think the fans will panic, but I don't think you'll see it out of the players.
Well, here's something that concerns me, and I talked about this with you last week heading into the playoffs. I said last week that I wonder if VGK would have its annual playoff drought. Remember, they have all these periods where they cannot score, and that was the case last night. They scored two goals in that game. That was it.
It's playoff hocky. I mean, they're the Wild.
But they go into these droughts, right? I'm not making this up in the playoffs.
No, you're not.
They go into droughts.
It's not as much of a fault to the Golden Knights as it is to the fact that you're now playing one of the top 16 teams in the league. And the Minnesota Wild, they're very similar to the Vegas Golden Knights last year, where they're a dangerous team. They're a dangerous wild card team that had many injuries, but now all of a sudden I think they're fully healthy. I don't know if they're missing anybody right now, but they look pretty darn good. Now, again, it's a little more top heavy still. Boldy got on the board. Kaprizov got 2, one being an empty netter. So they're still mainly getting their contributions from the top line. So the Golden Knights have still done an okay job at slowing down the other lines. Yes, there was some complimentary scoring last night, but I'm not too concerned about that because, again, it was gifts. I went back and watched all 4 goals this morning that mattered. Everyone you can trace back to a uncharacteristic poor turnover, poor puck management, whatever terminology you want to use. And something I said last night. I don't feel the Wild. Yes, they took what the Golden Knights gave them, which is good. They were opportunistic. You give credit to the Wild for that.
Sure.
But the Wild did not earn one of their goals. They did not earn one of their goals from grinding, from just creating something out of nothing. It was all gifts. So with that notion, with that perspective, the Golden Knights, I think, are fine going into games 3 and 4 in Minnesota. The Golden Knights were not the better team last night. I'm not saying that by any means, but if you clean up just a couple of things, and again, you get one of those timely saves. Aiden wasn't good last night. I'll say it again.
They should have pulled
You
him.
get. I thought maybe going into the third, maybe to see what
You
you
need to
got.
rest him, yeah. No.
But I mean, they made a game out of it, and Aiden did also lock it down after the first 4 goals. So there's that going. You got that as well. And you said earlier, good first 5 minutes of the game. Aiden Hill had some brilliant flashes early in the game, and it felt like it was going to be not a walk in the park, but it kind of felt that way early on.
Minnesota takes home ice advantage away from VGK. We told you Kaprizov would be playing better. He did have 3 points last night, as you
He's going
mentioned.
to get better as it goes.
He is just continuing to play ridiculous here as the more time that he's returned and gets back on the ice, he's elite, as they say. And then it got a little physical late. I thought Haig took a cheap shot on Kaprizov he punched him in the face there late in that scrum. That was unnecessary, but no penalties called there, surprisingly.
I mean, I don't know. I'm okay with that. As far as the sports book, really fast here, the Minnesota Wild have home ice advantage now. That you would think that would give them the advantage as far as the sports books are concerned. Golden Knights still minus 210 for the series, which I think that's a terrible
Too high.
line.
That's
too high.
a bad line. Bad line.
I don't think it should be close to even
What
or
about
anything
game
like
3?
that. But I mean, I don't know. You bet the Wild, and you can set yourself for a nice hedge opportunity with the Wild at plus 180. I still haven't caught. I'll try and catch it during the ad read here, but I saw that everyone mentioned Haig cold cocked him and
it was
dropped
weak.
him to his knees, and you know what?
It was bad.
There was a lot
cheap.
happening in that
It
scrum
was
and
just
all that,
cheap,
and
though. Come on, man.
no penalties called in that entire scrum. I actually kind of like that. The refs said, "Screw it, you guys want to fight after the whistle. One of you guys might take a punch, so you better get in there and make it count." And then sometimes not calling penalties is the best thing to do because the players get tired of getting their butts kicked.
Coming up next, Theodore and McNabb struggle in Game 2. We'll talk about that as we return on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can do so. You can stay in the action. And if you are looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I definitely do like FanDuel and the live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I am backing the team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I am going to miss a chance to be in the game. Plus, the app is the easiest to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. So right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That is FanDuel.com for the shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. And again, check out FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We sure do appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast, and please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget Friday's WTF Day with all of your comments, VGK fans, Wild fans, what have you. We'd like everyone to interact. So, Shea Theodore had been responsible for the first 4 Wild goals. And the fifth was that empty net goal, the Kaprizov goal. And it was just one of the worst performances. I thought it was embarrassing for both Theodore and for McNabb. Now, even though Theodore is a plus 20 on the season, he's had moments, he's had these streaks, especially late in the season, where he is a turnover machine.
I'm laughing right. That's the first time I caught the Nick Hague Kaprizov punch. He got him twice in there. I think Kaprizov tried to give a little sell job in there, honestly.
Cheap shot. He punched him in the face.
But you know what? It's a scrum. You got punched in the mouth. Deal with it, kid. It's part of hockey. Shea Theodore turnovers, that was the highlight of everything that I heard.
The low light.
The low light. Or the low light or the mid light or the leaving early light. I mean, listen, this is someone chirped me. I chirped a wild. I think I said in game one after who was it? Brock Faber got his pocket picked, and Tomas Hertl had that beautiful goal in the first game. I said, "Welcome to the playoffs, Brock Faber," and then someone corrected me. He had 6 games played. I said he hasn't learned much, but whatever. Little friendly chirping. And then Shea Theodore, after the second goal, I think the same fan hits me up and says, "Oh, welcome to the playoffs, Shea Theodore." I'm like, bro, joke's on you. We've been seeing this for the last 8 years in Vegas. Shea Theodore turnovers are not a new development by any means. And I say that partially joking. I say that partially serious too.
The end of the season, he was awful. He was absolutely awful with turnovers.
Shea Theodore plays a high risk, high reward game. And when it works, it works. When it doesn't, you see what happened last night. And Coach Cassidy was asked about in the post-game presser. I think he said, "What do you want me to say?" at one point. And he was talking about Theodore and his game and everything. And he mentioned that Theodore just started pinching and started overplaying, not compensate, whatever it was, overplaying pucks, and it just all snowballed at that point. It all snowballed, and it's not just on Theodore. McNabb didn't pick him up. That's another thing that Cassidy talked about was players putting out fires for their teammates, and that didn't happen either.
Yeah, Cassidy was really bummed out.
He was pissed. He was pissed.
Post-game presser. He really was.
Tell in the post-game presser, he was pissed. He did not. Was not. I mean,
well,
he should be.
Okay. Do you think perhaps that Cassidy might have been outcoached in that game because they asked about the again, what did Minnesota do differently? What adjustments did they make? The look on his face was absolutely golden, or he just didn't like that, or perhaps maybe Minnesota didn't make any adjustments, but VGK kept giving them the puck.
I like your perspective that there was a little more pressure applied, and that was really about all there was. You don't need to adjust when the other game hands you the game on a golden platter. You don't need to adjust. All they had to do was take what was in front of them. The first 5 minutes of the game, that was the game. That was the version of the Golden Knights we thought we were going to see. And the Wild were not, I won't say not ready to play, but they were massively outplayed in the first 5 minutes, and especially in the first shift. I thought the first shift of the game was phenomenal it was top line versus top line. I'm like, okay, they're ready to play. This is important because the top line wasn't very involved in the first game. So you liked what you saw early on, but I'm not going to give John Hines credit for making adjustments in that game. The adjustments did not lead to Shea Theodore having a terrible game, the worst game in Theodore, and then the combo of Theodore and McNabb. That's the worst performance in, I don't know, say playoff history, possibly Golden Knight history as far as the pairing go.
For the playoffs this year, and definitely that's one of the worst performance in VGK playoff.
Yeah, no, 100%, and that's my point.
For two guys to be
minus because of John Hines.
Two guys are -8. Think about that.
Yeah, but it's one game.
That's awful, dude.
It's one game.
What adjustments does VGK make defensively so this doesn't occur again in game number 3?
None. 0.
Well,
don't give the puck over like a dum-dum out there.
Then you're going to lose. You need to do something defensively.
Nothing. What do you need to do? Okay, don't turn over the puck.
Maybe you're pinching too much. You know, and
if
you get caught
turning over the puck is an adjustment, then sure, yes. The pinching, okay, fine. McNabb, I don't know if he made a poor decision, but he made a decision that unfortunately led to a 2-on-1. Theodore couldn't stop the rush going the other direction, unfortunately. Theodore got lost in the front of the net on one of the other goals where he should have been on the opposite side or trying to take away the pass a little bit better. But these aren't scheme adjustments we're talking about here. These aren't the goal. Like the Wild went into the prevent defense, which is going to make the transition game pretty much null and void for the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights, if you're not going to talk about how do you adjust breaking through a shell when you're down 4-0, because at that point, like we talked about early on in the show, the Wild are just simply in that prevent defense. The Golden Knights, they got to decide if they're going to do that one more pass or look at that shot from the blue line. That's probably going to hit the goalie's crest and just drop down. When you're down 4-0, the game completely changes. So there's nothing to adjust off of. There is honestly nothing to adjust off of. And
Well, I think VGK has to get in front of the net offensively, and they had a lot of shots from the outside, from the perimeter. That we
yeah,
know.
but again, the game when you're chasing the game, the shots are going to the quality of scoring opportunities will drop when only one of the teams is out there trying to score goals.
Uh-huh. When it was a 3-0 game, did you feel as though VGK was going to make a move and come back?
No,
you didn't. You could
no.
just tell.
Early in the game, I mean, you knew there was time to, and when it was 2-0, I wasn't worried. When it was 3-0, I'm like, we're done. Let's go home now.
Coming up next, where is the top line for VGK? We'll talk about that as we return on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Well, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein. It gives you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help to keep you feeling fuller longer. I definitely like the no shells variety. Those are terrific. It is the perfect grab and go snack for busy days like today. Whether I am snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a pick me up, a quick protein boost, they are always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell option, that is a classic favorite. The fact that Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, it provides all the 9 essential amino acids. And the satisfying crack of opening up each shell, it is like snack mediation. Whether you are running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Las Vegas, get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Get cracking. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick reporting from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen every day. And we are the only daily VGK podcast. That's it, right? Fridays, we've got WTF. Saturdays, sometimes it's the Chris Jr. show. So the VGK passengers returned last night. VGK just standing around, not doing much, especially that top line. And Cassidy moves Ivan Barbashev. He switches him, Barbashev, with Brett Howden in the game to try to get a spark of sorts. But I don't know, man. Like I said the other day, I feel as though Mark Stone is laboring a bit. He might be laboring a little. And I don't know what's up with Eichel, but those two, they're going to need them if they're going to make a run towards Cup number 2.
Eichel missed 5 games down the stretch, and they gave him game number 82. You have to wonder with a player like Jack Eichel why they gave him game 82. It's not like he needs he's a professional Stanley Cup winner, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to talk about who Jack Eichel is, but the fact that they gave him game number 82, maybe now you do start to wonder how much of an injury Eichel had. And it was maybe just hey, Gotta get your legs back under you. Only way you're going to do it is by getting back there on the ice. Well, okay. He had a goal in that last game against Vancouver. I think it was a tip-in, but still, it was a nice goal. And then game 1, just kind of there. Game 2, not really effective. I mean, I don't say it wasn't effective because he had made shots, but he was creating some. He created open ice. He did have his standard moments where he's got the puck behind the net, all the way top to the blue line, looking to make a pass and stuff like that. So there were moments for Jack, but again, you have to wonder why he wasn't out there in game 82. And Mark Stone always looks like he's laboring. He'd be the first one to tell you that. 66 games played, most games played, I think, in the last 3 years of his career, something like that. So a largely healthy season. Maybe it's fatigue. I say that half joking and half not joking. But you wonder what happened. I mean, Barb, what was it, like 21 points in 7 games or something like that between the top line early on? And the concern was what the Wild are right now. The Golden Knights were a one-trick pony for the first, 10 or 12 games of the year with that top line. Of course, since then, players like Tomas Hertl and Pavel Dorofeev have done what they've done. But at the end of the day, that top line, if this is what we're going to see every game, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough for the Golden Knights to come out of this series. And just one more thing I had highlighted here as we're getting down to the end here. I thought Nicholas Waugh was okay last night. I thought Nicholas Waugh had some good individual efforts and was able to, at times, almost create something out of nothing. I felt he was really the only player on the Golden Knights side of the ice that was able to do that last night. So credit Nicholas Waugh for at least maybe having a new gear in his game, but you're not going to put Nicholas Waugh on that top line instead of Howden or Barbashev.
Yeah, for sure. And again, one of the worst performances we've seen this season and in the playoffs for a long time for VGK. Will they be better on Thursday? I know they have to be. Don't tell me that.
Worse, Tony. Like, how could you be any worse? I think, like I said, they're going to be fine. I mean, looking at I know the sports book and what happens on the ice could be two separate things, but
do you have game 3? Do you have the line for game 3?
I can possibly find it here, but with the Golden Knights being minus 210 in this series, I would guess.
Would VGK be? They'll be favored in Minnesota because
I'll bet right now it's 110 on both sides. If there's a
they've
line.
Dominated this series.
Minus 140 for the Golden Knights on Wednesday.
Yeah,
Thursday,
I figured. Yeah, that's again the domination.
Sports books don't believe. I mean, I know it's the money in the pools, but the books don't believe in the Minnesota Wild because the books put the initial line out there and then.
What were they last night, Minnesota? But what were they last night? Plus what? I could have made a boatload.
Oh God, I never looked at the line last night, but I bet the Golden Knights were probably close to minus. I'd probably say about either 195 or 215, just because I think the sports books are smart enough to know that winning 2 games in a row is tough. I mean, you don't see a lot of teams that dominate the first 2 games of a series. Toronto, Ottawa. Toronto's up 2-0, but there were 2 close games, 1 overtime game. The New Jersey Devils, Carolina Hurricanes. That game was down to the end with an empty net situation, close game. I don't know if any of the other series are 2-0. I don't have it in front of me right now. But looking at the sports books, looking at the pedigree of the 2 teams and everything, I will not give John Hines any credit. Sorry, Wild fans, but I will not give John Hines any credit for adjustments. Now,
come on.
No.
I will.
How can you say anything positive when what happened on the Golden Knights side, Tony?
It's on the Golden Knights. All that matters. And scoreboard.
It's on the Golden Knights.
Scoreboard. Yeah.
The scoreboard is all that matters, of course. They really won the game. They were opportunistic. Good on them.
What about your guy, Vegas Bjorn, going 1-on-5 last night? That was beautiful.
Why not?
He turns it over. 1-on-5.
Well, the team's in a line change. They're down. I mean, you could peel off of the blue line, wait for reinforcements, and
that guy's lost. I'm sorry, but he's lost. Mr. 9 goals. He's lost. Sorry.
Everyone was lost last night. I thought that line had some moments. I don't know. I don't think that line was that bad. Riley Smith tried to do one of those when they were down like 3 or 4-0. Tried to do one of those Paul Cotter between the leg dangles on the blue line. That pissed me off. That was,
you really need to do that at that juncture. Yeah, for sure.
No, and again, doing it to show off.
But they get full. Come on, they get full of themselves. They do. Yeah.
I don't know. They get full of themselves. I don't know.
We appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much. Of course, don't forget tomorrow the preview for game number 3 between VGK and the Wild Cards. Fridays, WTF Day. Saturdays, it is the Chris times Chris Jr. show sometimes. We appreciate everyone tuning in from everywhere. Thank you so, so much, especially our everydayers. For my man, Chris Golick, I am Tony Cardasco. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights, and please take care.